morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Leroy Jones, and I'd like to present to you today speaking about prisoner reentry. A lecture, a presentation called Critical Rebirth. But first, let me give you a backdrop of my background, my story. In 1996, at the age of 16, I was charged and convicted of criminal homicide and aggravated robbery. I was sent to TDOC, Tennessee Department of Correction, prison with a sentence of 23 years. I spent 16 years and 9 months in prison on this 23-year sentence. I emerged from prison 6 months ago at the age of 33. Today I'm 34. As I said, today I want to talk to you about the critical rebirth of prisoners or ex-prisoners into society, or what we're calling reentry. And I have no intellectual analysis of the stats or the laws, the policies, but all I have is a first-hand experience of the need for a firm foundation to emerge from prison onto it. Because I said, well, let's just consider for a minute that the old cliche that it takes a community to raise a child is true. Well, children are human beings. At what point does it stop taking the community, or what point does the community decide to take their hands off of this child who went into prison at the age of 16 and was isolated from the upbringing, the raising, and the teaching of community? And then he emerges at the age of 33, 17 years later. Did the community ever have a chance to raise this child? And if not, then what is this child going to be inside of society that it is now emerged out to? Today we spend a lot of time, and as I said, I don't have a lot of stats. I just want to try to spark some thought here and maybe some action thereafter. We spend a lot of time, energy, and effort, and resources and finances in the rebuilding of the communities, as far as the infrastructure, the buildings, the roads, the highways, the municipalities, even the school systems, which is critical and crucial. But the individuals that compose and make the community itself, those individuals that aren't necessarily the crux or the highest aspects of society, but yet are still a part of society. I think it's time for us to consider that we may need to take a vested interest in America's ex-felon population, bigger than what we have in our pre-release or post-release programs where we teach resume writing. We teach the hard skills of resume writing, checkbook. When I went to pre-release, it was checkbook balancing. I ain't used a checkbook in 6 months since I've been here. It's all credit. Everything's on the computer these days. And I'm struggling every day to balance my finances because no one taught me these soft skills of time management, bookkeeping, financial management skills, etc. Whatever you want to name it. I don't know all the professional terms, but just how to manage your money. Resume writing. Well, if you have a felony conviction and your application asks you, have you ever been convicted of a felony? If yes, please explain, and they give you a 2-line sentence. Well, I have a felony conviction that sent me to prison for 17 years. I can't explain that in 2 lines. The soft skills of how to get into the door of a job that will give you an opportunity to build a foundation to stand upon, to build a life off of. This is what's missing in prisoner reentry. I've been here 6 months and I have sought help. Because my reality is not the reality of most individuals. My reality is I have spent more time incarcerated as a slave than a free man in society. I went to prison when I was 16, today I'm 34. Prior to my 16th birthday, I had already done 18 months in juvenile facilities. So from March 11, 1994 to the age of 14, I became acquainted with incarceration. I know more of being a slave than a free man. Who is my peer society in society? Where is the community that will help raise this ex-slave out of slavehood? that will help free his mind so that he can become a productive citizen of society to benefit and contribute to society? Or do you consider, no, excuse me, or do we want these ex-offenders to continue and to persist in robbing, raping, and pillaging of our society? As I said, we must take a vested interest in today's ex-felon population. Society advances from the production of a generation that will succeed the generation that is previous generation. We want to bring into life our children to succeed us. But what happens when a certain element of society brings in, we continue to produce, but the generation that's being produced is not able to succeed the generation that produces it because the educational system has failed them because of zero tolerance policies. If you are convicted of a drug conviction, you are convicted of a violent crime, or anything, whether it's on school grounds or not, it's a zero tolerance policy. And a lot of these kids come from impoverished communities and neighborhoods and homes where they don't have conflict resolution skills. They don't have anger management skills. They don't have financial management skills. They don't even understand the correlation between education and success. So they don't want to be in school to begin with. And any little infraction of the rule will get you kicked out of school because of zero tolerance policies. So I don't want to be in school anyway because there's no correlation in my mind between education and success. So for you to kick me out is okay with me. But once I'm put out of school and I'm into society, the only segment of society I can relate to being uneducated, impoverished, and probably black or Latino or Hispanic or ethnic, as we know the stats will probably prove. Being of those classes, then the only segment I'm probably going to go to is a crime-infested community. So that would be the community that's going to raise this child. And that would be the child that's probably going to end up in prison or dead. Getting back to the critical rebirth, the prison industrial complex has turned into a for-profit institution. Now, I want us to wrap our minds around this for a minute. The Tennessee Constitution has taken rehabilitation out of the prison setting. Rehabilitation is not the objective, it's not in the mission statement, the vision statement, or any strategies of TDOC, of Tennessee Department of Corrections. I can't speak for other states, but I know Tennessee does not put a primary focus or emphasis whatsoever on prison rehabilitation or transformation. So with prison being a for-profit institution, meaning that institutions get paid off of housing individuals who have committed crime and been sentenced to prison to sit there for a while. Why would that institution institute any programs that's going to teach you not to come back? And we wonder why there's a revolving cycle or revolving door, why the recidivism rate is so high. It's upon the individuals out here in society. The burden rests upon us. And those individuals who are courageous enough and have enough God-given talent and love within them to go inside the institutions and non-profit organizations and set up programs to help transform the individuals. So we need those programs that will help the individual to be transformed as much as humanly possible inside of the institutions. And then when they come out, the individuals need to be, let's take the analogy of a pregnant woman who takes vitamins during her pregnancy. Doctors prescribe all kinds of vitamins and medicines and tell her what to eat, what not to eat, what kind of vitamins to stay away from, what kind of vitamins are conducive toward the birth of a healthy infant into society. Well, if prison is the same cocoon, the same womb, we should be trying to inject those kind of vitamins into the minds and the souls and the mentalities of these individuals that will help them at the stage of birth to be birthed healthy back into society. And when they do land, if you have a mother who's been addicted to crack and she gives birth to an infant, then DCS, Department of Children's Services, or some other agency will come in and take that child because they don't want that child reared in an environment or a household that is not going to be conducive toward its healthy upbringing. We call it an unfit family, an unfit mother, an unfit father, and they will take the child from their household. Well, these same individuals inside of prison, they have not received the proper education, the proper training, the proper transformational rehabilitation, while inside the womb of prison, are birthed through parole or flattening or expiration of their sentences back into the same communities they left from, the same crime-ridden neighborhood, the same drug-addicted family perhaps sometimes. The same anger problems, the same non-conflict resolution skills that they ran with to begin with that made them think that rape was acceptable, that made them think that murder was acceptable, that robbery was acceptable, that drug abuse was acceptable, that drug dealing was acceptable. They are birthed back into the same communities with the same mentalities that are predominant there. And we're looking for positive prisoner reentry. They said, I think it was Kim who said it, 28.5% of black males have a chance of conviction. That 7 million are in prison. This was 2010, so that's not how many came before then. That was currently in America's prison system. And another 5 million were on parole in 2010. That's a huge segment of America's population that are either currently in the system, waiting to be birthed back into society, or have already been through the system and have re-entered into society. That's a huge segment that cannot be neglected. And then let's not even get into the politics of being disenfranchised because of voter disenfranchisement because you've been convicted of a felony. As I said, we should desire that these same individuals who left mainstream society be birthed back into society with, if it doesn't achieve it, if the means aren't there inside the institutions to birth them back into society with a new basis of knowledge, because we know that culture is the outgrowth of one's knowledge. That you're not going to do what you don't already know in your head, what you don't find acceptable and reasonable in your mind. I'm not just going to go jump off the building because my knowledge tells me that's not going to work for me. You know, my culture will determine my knowledge will determine what kind of culture I live. And if a base of knowledge isn't being given inside the institutions to dispel the acceptance of criminal mentalities, then that base of knowledge and that support system, that conducive and productive social network needs to exist for the individual when they come back out into society. As I said, I have asked for help. A lot of the institutions, a lot of the programs out here today, the halfway houses, the support groups, all this, if you're not tied to some church, there's nothing. If you're not tied to their organization, there's nothing. Everyone has an agenda, but the agenda should be positive prisoner reentry for the betterment of society itself, because if we want to stay safe as citizens, we don't want to be victims of robbery, murder, rape, theft, and all these other things, then we have to take a vested interest in making sure that we as a community help raise the children of society. Or it's a better way to put it, that we as a community help raise the children of God, our fellow brothers and sisters. My time is running very short. I said I don't have an intellectual analysis of the situation, but I was asked to come speak about the need for positive prisoner reentry today. I'm standing in the middle of it 6 months. I'm out here every day for every available opportunity I have to try to get the message across, to prevent juvenile crime, to try to prevent prisons, people going to prison, period. and to try to inspire, motivate, agitate the people to try to do more to help us, ex-felons, establish and maintain a firm foundation to exist in society on. My 15 minutes is up. I thank everybody for their time.